Welcome to the Linux Guy Guru, and now your host, Jay Benjamin.
Hi, my name is Jay Benjamin. Thank you for tuning in to another episode of the Linux Guy Guru. Our topic for today's program is Command Line Masterclass. Moving away from the graphical user interface is a conscious choice for most people. Some of the main reasons for using the command line are because you may want to chain two or more commands together. Another reason why you might want to use the command line is you might want to use it to change parameters available only on the shell. Another reason for using the command line is that you're working on a text-only system. Another reason for wanting to use the command line is that you have used it for a long time and feel comfortable there. Chaining two or more commands together, or piping, is what gives the shell its real power. Hundreds of commands are available, and by combining them in different ways, you get tons of new options. Some of the shell commands are available through the graphical user interface, but these commands usually have only a small subset of their parameters available, which limits what you can do with them. Working from a text-only screen is useful both for working locally with a broken graphic user interface and for connecting to a remote text-only system. If your Linux server is experiencing problems, the last thing you'll want to do is load it down with a graphic user interface connection. Working in text mode is faster and more efficient. Many people use the shell simply because it is familiar to them. Some people even use the shell to start graphic user interface applications just because it saves them from taking their hands off the keyboard for a moment. This is not a bad thing. It provides fluency and ease with the system and is a perfectly valid way of working. Working from the command line is faster. The mouse is slow, and taking your fingers away from the keyboard makes your work even slower. Knowing how to work in the shell is also essential if you wish to automate tasks on your system without the use of the graphic user interface. Whether you want to add a periodic task to cron or update a configuration management system, you will need to know what text commands to give in order to run programs from the command line. Using basic commands. It is impossible to know how many commands the average command line citizen uses, but if we had to guess, we would place it at about 25. Some of those that were introduced in the last program are covered here at greater depth. And here are some commands that every command line user will want to learn. cat, C-A-T, prints the contents of a file. cd, changes directories. chmod, changes file access permission. cp, copies files. du, prints disk usage. emacs or emacs, edits text files. find, find, finds files by searching. grep, grep, searches for a string in input. less, less, filters for paging through output. ln creates links between files. locate finds files from an index. ls lists files in the current directory. make compiles and installs programs. man displays manual pages for reading. mkdir makes directories. mv moves files. nano edits text files. rm deletes files and directories. sort takes a text file as input and outputs the contents of the file in the order you specify. SSH connects to other machines using a secure shell connection. tail, T-A-I-L, prints the last lines of a file. VIM edits text files. which, W-H-I-C-H, prints the location of a command. And XARGS executes commands from its input. Many other commands are also available to you that gets used fairly often. Example, cut, diff, diff, gzip, history, ping, ping, au, tar, uptime, who, and so on. But you can understand that the 25 that I have given you have sufficient skill to concoct your own command combinations. Note that we say understand the commands, not know all their possible parameters and usages. This is because several of the commands, although commonly used, are used only in a complex manner by people with specific needs. Unless you plan to become a programmer, you need not worry about this. I will add here, some Linux users like to focus on the graphical environments that are available. They rush to tell new users that the command line isn't vital when using Linux. Although there are some amazing graphical user interfaces out there on the desktops, and this statement is mostly true, avoiding the command line limits your options and makes some tasks more difficult. The command line interface is where the greatest power and flexibility are found, and those who actively avoid learning how to use it are also actively limiting their abilities and options. Entire books have been published covering the depth and breadth of the command line. To believe that 2 short programs is going to make any listener a true master is foolish. My greatest hope is to give enough information to enable any listener to perform all basic and vital tasks from the command line while inspiring the listener to go on a quest and discover all the beauty and grandeur, because we don't have enough space to cover everything on the command line in this program. Please keep this in mind as we continue. In his book, The Art of Unix Programming, Eric Raymond wrote a short story that perfectly illustrates the power of the command line versus the graphic user interface. I would like to read the excerpt here with you in this program, and I'll begin by reading it now. One evening, Master Fu and Newbie attended a gathering of programmers who had met to learn from each other. One of the programmers asked Newbie to what school he and his master belonged. Upon being told they were followers of the great way of Unix, the programmers grew scornful. The command line tools of Unix are crude and backward, he scoffed. Modern, properly designed operating systems do everything through a graphical user interface. Master Fu said nothing, but pointed at the moon. A nearby dog began to bark at the master's hand. I don't understand you, said the programmer. Master Fu remained silent and pointed at an image of the Buddha. Then he pointed at a window. What are you trying to tell me? Asked the programmer. Master Fu pointed at the programmer's head. Then he pointed at a rock. Why can't you make yourself clear? Demanded the programmer. Master Fu frowned thoughtfully, tapped the programmer twice on the nose, and dropped him in a nearby trash can. As the programmer was attempting to extricate himself from the garbage, the dog wandered over and piddled on him. At that moment, the programmer achieved enlightenment. Whimsical as the story is, it does illustrate that there are some things that the graphical user interface just does not do well. Enter the command line. It is a powerful and flexible operating environment and, if you practice, can actually be quite fun too. So we will now go over the 25 basic command lines and see how they all apply. We'll begin with printing the contents of a file with CAT. Many of Ubuntu shell commands manipulate text strings, so if you want to be able to feed them the contents of a file, you need to be able to output those files as text. Enter the cat command, which prints the contents of any file you pass to it. In its most basic use, you can use cat space myfile.txt. This command prints the contents of myfile.txt. For this usage, there are 2 extra parameters that are often used: hyphen or n numbers the line in the output, and -s squeeze, which prints a maximum of 1 blank line at a time. That is, if your file has 1 line of text and 10 blank lines, or 1 line of text, 10 blank lines, and so on. The -s shows the first line of text, a single blank line, the next line of text, a single blank line, and so forth. When you combine -s and -n, cat numbers only the lines that are printed. The 10 blank lines shown as 1 will count as 1 line for numbering. This command prints information about your CPU, stripping out multiple blank lines and numbering the output. And that command would be cat space -sn space /proc/cpuinfo. You can also use cat to print the contents of several files at once, like this: -s space myfile.txt space myotherfile.txt. In that command, cat merges myfile.txt and myotherfile.txt on the output, stripping out multiple blank lines. The important thing is that cat does not distinguish between the 2 files in the output. There are no file names printed, and no extra breaks between the two. This allows you to treat the two as one, or by adding more files to the command line to treat 20 files as one. The next one we'll go over is changing directories with CD. Changing directories is surely something that has no options, right? Not so. CD is actually more flexible than most people realize. Unlike most of the other commands here, CD is not a command in itself. It is built into the bash, BASH, or whichever shell interpreter you're using, but is still used like a command. The most basic usage of CD is CD space SOMEDIR. This command looks in the current directory for the SOMEDIR subdirectory and then moves you into it. You can also specify an exact location for a directory by typing in CD space /home /J /stuff STUFF /SOMEDIR. The next one we'll go over is changing file access permissions with chmod. Your use of chmod can be greatly extended through one simple parameter, and that's -c. This instructs chmod to print a list of all the changes it made as part of its operation, which means we can capture the output and use it for other purposes. Rather than go over the full list, we'll take time for a much needed mental break, and we'll switch to reading manual pages with man, M-A-N. The man command is easy to use. Most people use only the topic argument, like this, man space gcc. However, two other commands work closely well with man that are very useful, and that is what is and apropos. The what is command returns a one-line description of another command, which is the same text you get at the top of that command man's page. For example, 1-list space directory contents. The output explains what ls does, but also provides the man page section number in the command so you can query it further. The apropos command takes a search string as its parameters and returns all man pages that match the search. For example, apropos mixer returns a list that might have sound card mixer for ALSA sound card driver, command line mixer for ALSA sound card driver, or adjust audio mixer. So use apropos to help you find commands and use what is to tell you what a command does. One neat trick is that many of the tips and tricks that you'll learn for LES also work when viewing man pages. For example, using / and question mark to search. This is one of the beautiful things about Unix systems. Gaining knowledge in one area often benefits you in other areas. You can use a number of other commands to search the file system. Where is command returns the location of the command, for example, /bin or /usr/bin/command, and its man page, which is an entry for the command, which includes as a file already on your computer and is a standardized manual format. What is command returns a one-line synopsis from the command's man page. Locate file returns locations of all matching files, an extremely fast method of searching your system because locate searches a database containing an index of all files in your system./However, this database, which is several megabytes in size and named mlocate.mb under the /var/lib/mlocate directory, is built daily at 6:25 in the morning by default and does not contain path names to files created during the workday or in the evening. If you do not keep your machine on constantly, you can run the updated B command with super user privileges to manually start the building of the database. More advanced users can change the time the database is updated by changing a cron job that calls the command. There is a script in /etc/cron.daily called mlocate that does this as part of the daily maintenance for the database. You would need to either remove that script from /etc/cron.daily and put it in the root cron tab, or change where the tab runs its task. If you don't know how to do this right now, don't even worry about it. You can come back after you read some more and learn some more. Now I'll switch gears here. Using common text editors. Linux distributions include a number of applications known as text editors that you can use to create text files or edit system configuration files. Text editors are similar to word processing programs, but generally have fewer features, work only with text files, and might or might not support spell checking or formatting. Text editors range in features and ease of use and are found on nearly every Linux distribution. The number of editors installed on your system depends on what software packages you've installed on the system. I'll go over the most popular console-based text editors now. First being Emacs, E-M-A-C-S, the comprehensive GNU Emacs editing environment, which is much more than an editor. And the next I'll go over is VIM, and it's an improved compatible version of the VI text editor, which we call VI. I would like to note here that not all text editors are screen-oriented, meaning designed for use from a terminal. Some of the text editors are designed to run from a graphical desktop and that provide a graphical interface with menu bars, buttons, scroll bars, and so on. And then there is GEDit, G-E-D-I-T, a graphic user text editor for GNOME, which is installed by default with Ubuntu. Then there is KATE or Kate, a simple KDE text editor, and KEDIT, another simple KDE text editor. A good reason to learn how to use a text-based editor, such as VI or Nano, is that systems maintenance and recovery operations almost never take place during graphic user interface sessions, negating the use of a graphic user editor. Many larger, more complex and capable editors do not work when Linux is booted to a single user or maintenance mode. If anything does go wrong with your system and you can't log into the graphic user interface, knowledge and experience of using both the command line and the text editors will turn out to be very important. Make a point of opening some of the editors and playing around with them. You never know, you might just thank yourself someday. And another reason to learn how to use a text-based editor under the Linux console mode is that you can edit text files through remote shell sessions, because many servers will not host graphical desktops. I would also like to note here, before you take the time to get familiar with a non-standard text editor, consider this. All three of the editors included here are readily available and common. Two of them, Nano and Vi, are almost universally installed. If you spend your time learning a non-standard editor, you'll find yourself having to install it on every system or fighting against the software that is already there, instead of using your time productively. Feel free to use any text editor you prefer, but we strongly recommend that you make sure you have at least a basic working knowledge of these standard editors so that you can walk up to any system and start working when necessary. And working with Nano is probably going to be one of the easiest for your learning curve. It is neither the most powerful nor the most guru-proof, but Nano is a respectable text editor that you can run from the command line, and it's often perfect for quick tasks such as editing configuration files. And as I mentioned, learning how to use Nano is quick and easy. You might need to edit files on a Linux system with a minimal install or a remote server without a more extensive offering of installed text editors. Chances are nearly 100% that Nano will be available. And working with Vi, the one editor found on nearly every Unix and Linux system is the Vi editor, originally written by Bill Joy. This simple to use but incredibly capable editor features a somewhat cryptic command set, but you can put it to use with only a few commands. And learning Vi is a good idea. You might need to edit files on a Linux system with a minimal install or on a remote server without a more extensive offering of installed text editors. Chances are 100% use Vi, and it'll be available. And working with Emacs, and that's Richard M. Stallman's GNU Emacs editor, like Vi, is included with Ubuntu and nearly every other Linux distribution. Unlike other Unix and Linux text editors, Emacs is much more than a simple text editor. It's an editing environment, and you could use it to compile and build programs and act as an electronic diary, appointment book, and calendar. You can use it to compose and send email, read Usenet news, and even play games. The reason for this capability is that Emacs contains a built-in language interpreter that uses the Emacs Lisp program language. Emacs is not installed in Ubuntu by default. To use Emacs, the package you need to install is called Emacs. So you can start by going to your software center to find it. And within the command line, you can also work with compressed files. Another file management operation is compression and decompression of files, or the creation, listing, and expansion of file and directory archives. Linux distributions usually include several compression utilities that you can use to create, compress, expand, or list the contents of compressed files and archives. These commands include the following: bunzip2 expands a compressed file, bzip2 compresses or expands files and directories, gunzip expands a compressed file, gzip compresses or expands files and directories, and tar creates, expands, or lists the contents of compressed or uncompressed files or directory archives known as tape archives, or tarballs. And now I'll discuss using multiple terminals with BYOBU. Many Linux veterans have enjoyed and used the screen command, which is designed to enable you to use one terminal to control several terminals sessions easily. Although screens have become a welcome and useful tool, a better one has appeared called BYOBU. It is an enhanced version of screen. BYOU is a Japanese term for decorative, multi-panel, virtually folded screens that are often used as room dividers. And that's BYOBU. BYOBU. The best way to learn BYOBU is to try it yourself. So open the console, type BYOBU, and then press enter. Your display blinks momentarily and is then replaced with a new console with new information in a panel at the bottom. Now, do something with that terminal. Run top and leave it running for a time being. Press F2, your prompt will clear again, leaving you able to type run the uptime command. And here's a pop quiz for you. What happened to the old terminal running top? It is still running, of course. You can press F3 to return to it. Press F4 to go back to your uptime terminal. While you're viewing other terminals, the commands in the other terminals carry on running as normal, as you can multitask. And here are some of the basic commands in BYOBU. F2 creates a new window. F3, go to the previous window. F4, go to the next window. F9, open the BYOBU menu for help and configuration. To close the terminal within BYOBU, simply log out of it normally using exit or Control-D. When you exit the last terminal session that is open in BYOBU, the program closes as well and drops you to the regular terminal session you used to start BYOBU. However, I'd like to mention there are two alternatives to quitting the BYOBU session: locking and disconnecting. The first, activated with F12, locks access to your screen data until you enter your system password. The second is the most powerful feature of screen and also works beautifully in BYOBU. You can exit it and do other things for a while and then reconnect later. Both screen and BYOBU pick up where you left off. For example, you could be typing at your desk, detach from a session and go home, reconnect, and carry on as if nothing had changed. What's more, all the programs you ran from screen or BYOBU carry on running, even while screen or BYOBU is disconnected. It even automatically disconnects for you if someone closes your terminal window while it is in a locked state with Control+A+X. To disconnect, press F6. You will return to the prompt from which you launched Screen or BioBoo and can carry on working. Close the terminal you had open or even log out completely. When you want to reconnect, run the command Screen-R or BioBoo-R. You can, in the meantime, just run Screen or BioBoo or start a new session without resuming the previous one. But this is not wise if you value your sanity. You can disconnect and reconnect the same session as many times you want, which potentially means you need never lose your session again. Although this has been a mere taste of what BioBoo and Screen can do, hopefully you can see how useful they can be. Check the man pages to learn more about this. You can also find more on BioBoo documentation at http://byobu.co or https://help.ubuntu.com/community/byobu. Well, that's our show for today. Our next program will be about managing users, and here we'll discuss user accounts, managing groups, managing users, managing passwords, and granting system administrative privileges to regular users. And in closing, if you've enjoyed listening to this program, please tell a friend, and by all means, leave us a comment. We would love to hear your feedback. If you'd like to contact the show, you can email us at linuxguideguru@gmail.com. We also have a website that you can check out at linuxguide.guru. On the website, we have videos you can watch and valuable information regarding the Linux operating system. Knowledge is power, and learning Linux is a must in these challenging and turbulent times. I encourage everyone listening to learn Linux. And should you be in the New York City area and would like to convert your personal computer to a Linux operating system, we can make it possible with a variety of over a dozen Linux operating system distributions. The possibilities are endless. I'd like to thank everyone for listening to today's program. Till next time, your host, Jay Benjamin, logging out.